Assalamu alaikum. On behalf of Ahsan Academy, let me welcome you to a presentation on connective tissue classification. In this presentation, I will discuss a concept of origin of the connective tissue, its classification, and I will discuss the characteristics and site of connective tissue proper as well as the adipose tissue. Connective tissue may be classified into embryonic form of connective tissue and adult form of connective tissue on the basis of presence of immature cells, that is known as embryonic cells. If we look back to discuss the origin of the connective tissue, we'll find that all the connective tissue originates from the embryonic mesenchyme. This mesenchyme is actually the mid layer of the embryo. The outer layer is the ectoderm, inner layer is the endoderm, and in between this layer is the mesoderm. Either outer and inner layers are epithelium, but the mid layer is the immature form of connective tissue, that is known as mesoderm and mesenchyme. It contains the mesenchymal cells. These are undifferentiated cells, means they are not mature. They can differentiate into any forms like fibroblast or other cells. So they look like a spindle-shaped cells, means having two ends narrow, a dilated mid part containing the nucleus. They have scanty cytoplasm and two or three or more processes, cytoplasmic process. They are thin process, and the nucleus is very large with prominent nucleolus. This type of cells are present in the mesoderm mostly, and they differentiate into adult form of cells, means these are mature form of cells. The embryonic form of connective tissue is present after birth also, and it is characterized by the homogeneously light stained ground substance containing a few matured fibers, and the cells are mainly the mesenchyme, means these are undifferentiated cells. I have already discussed, but some of them has differentiated into fibroblast that exist in the tissue, and in after birth we will find this in the umbilical cord, that is connect the baby with the mother's placenta. The jelly-like fluidy tissue present here in this umbilical cord is known as Wharton's gel. It is present after birth till death of the human in the eye in the form of vitreous body of the eye. Adult form of connective tissue. This adult form of connective tissue, the terminology doesn't mean that it is present in the adult human only. Actually, it contains the mature cell in it, and these mature cells in connective tissue are mainly the fibroblast. The black arrow is indicating the cell. This is the fibroblast, and it contains large amount of extracellular matrix. This blue arrow head is in the extracellular matrix. Adult connective tissue, depending on the structure and function, can be classified into connective tissue proper and connective tissue with the special property. Connective tissue proper means the typical characteristics are present here, means the main cell is the fibroblast, abundant extracellular matrix. Other cells are also present here in this connective tissue proper. This connective tissue proper can be classified into loose connective tissue and dense connective tissue. Dense is again classified into regular and irregular form of connective tissue. Connective tissue with special property means the connective tissue has the property of the connective tissue, but it is having some special characteristics, like main cell is not the fibroblast, extracellular matrix may be less or even scanty, the main cells may be something else. So in this way, these are classified into a special form of connective tissue. This may be further classified into adipose tissue, lymphoid tissue, pigmented tissue, hemopoietic tissue, and elastic tissue. It also includes bone tissue and cartilage. Cartilage is of three types: hyaline, elastic, and fibrocartilage. This bone and cartilage form the supporting framework of the body, means skeletal system. So this is further sometimes classified as supportive connective tissue. In that case, we may use three broad heads: connective tissue with tissue connective tissue proper, connective tissue with the special property, and connective tissue supportive type. But most of the case, supportive type of connective tissue is included under the connective tissue with special property. Loose connective tissue is one of the type of connective tissue proper, and its physical characteristics are it's a delicate in consistency and the flexible, not very resistant to stress. Under microscope, it is visible that it contains cells, fibers, and ground substance almost in equal proportions, and the cells are mainly fibroblasts, and a large number of macrophages are also visible. The presence of collagen, elastic, and reticular fibers are detectable there. This is well vascularized blood vessel sections are visible. You can see this showing the epithelium, and under the epithelium this part is the loose connective tissue. The figure above is also a spread preparation of the connective tissue. Loose connective tissue observed in different places, like it always supports the epithelium. Just under the epithelium we will find the connective tissue. This is epithelium on the upper part, and bracket shows the connective tissue deep to it. Layer around the small blood vessels and lymphatics are shown in the figure. The sections of the rounded structure is the blood vessels. Around this, the loose connective tissue is present. This diagram is showing the muscle fibers. The gap is filled up with the connective tissue. Similarly, nerve sheaths are formed by the connective tissue, loose connective tissue. Papillary layer of the dermis. This histological feature showing the skin, and deeper part, the arrow is indicating the dermis. A dotted line, red line, is separated this dermis into two parts. The superficial part contains more cells than the deeper part. This upper part projects inside the epidermis. This part is known as papillary layer, and this papillary layer is loose connective tissue as shown by the arrow. Dense connective tissue is another form of connective tissue proper. The figure transversely placed is showing the epithelium. The dense is the deeper part, and in between lies this loose connective tissue. So this dense connective tissue offer resistance and protections. They are relatively less flexible and very resistant to stress. Under microscope, a few cells are present. Most of the area is occupied by the extracellular matrix, and there is clear predominance of collagen fiber in the ground substance. Dense connective tissue may be irregular and dense regular. The dense irregular connective tissue is characterized by the collagen fibers. They form the network, and the placements are in different directions. Often it is associated with the loose connective tissue, like the dermis has loose connective tissue close to the epithelium, and deeper part is the dense irregular connective tissue. This provides resistance to the stress from all directions. It is present in the dermis of the skin, already I have said, and arrow bracket is indicating. It forms the capsule of various organs. Dense regular connective tissue is another form of dense connective tissue, and collagen fibers are aligned parallelly and in a linear orientations. They offer great resistance to traction force, and it is observed in the tendons. The red arrow is indicating the tendon of the muscle, the aponeurosis. The blue arrow is showing the flattened tendinous part of the muscle. This is aponeurosis. The ligament, the black arrow is showing the ligament. Adipose tissue. In human, we get the unilocular cells in the adipose tissue mainly. Adipose tissue constitutes about 15 to 20% of the male body weight and 20 to 25% of the female total body weight. You can see the yellow color fat under the skin, this in the peritoneum within the abdominal cavity, and by the sides or in between the organs. These are the main sites for the fat. Under the skin is known as superficial fascia or subcutaneous tissue. In the mesentery, between the organs in the different cavities. This is the histological feature of the adipose tissue. We know that adipose cell, this rounded signet ring cells are the adipose cell. They are rounded or polygonal in shape. Thin rim of cytoplasm is there, and the nucleus is peripherally situated. The histological characteristics of adipose tissue includes the cells. Those are the adipocytes. Already I have described, these are the signet ring cells. They may be rounded in shape or polygonal because of the pressure of the surrounding cells. They may have multiple sides. The cytoplasm is thin rim and the nucleus is peripherally situated, and at that area cytoplasm has become thick. So this type of cells are mainly present in this adipose tissue. It's a very little intercellular substances are there, and these connective tissue cells, other form like fibroblasts, are also present in between the adipocytes. This area are very poorly supplied, but this connective tissue mass is separated into several lobules subdivided by septum, and that septum is connective tissue proper. This connective tissue proper contains the main blood vessels. Adipose tissue, that the fat cells are the storehouse of energy, and this is responsible for giving the shape of the body, and subcutaneous tissue is responsible, perform this responsibility mainly. This connective adipose tissue is a bad conductor of heat and electricity. This is also has shock absorbing effect. It forms the shock absorbing pad in the palm and so. You can see the arrow. This is placed in the adipose tissue surrounding the organs. Here it is the kidney, so it helps the organ to remain in particular position surrounding that organ, and it protects that organ from injury. Thanks for remaining with the presentation.